Hey everybody, this is Eddy Dacius. We here for a great another episode. We have a wonderful guest. Her name is Genevieve Angelique Bien-Aime. She's born in Boston, Cambridge, raised first generation Haitian American, creative entrepreneur, curator, and culture and connector. These are my words. She's gonna have a chance to introduce herself, but let's take a moment to appreciate our sponsors.
Do you want to maximize the value of your commercial property and achieve optimal productivity and efficiency in your day-to-day business operations? That's where Dacius Facilities Management can help. DFM offers Boston area businesses help in key areas like building and preventive maintenance, handyman services, project and vendor management, and even security consulting at competitive rates. Call Dacius Facilities Management now at 617-237-0106 or visit daciusfm.com today.
Hey, this is Dacius Facility Management. Call them now, 617-237-0106, or go online at daciusfm.com. So like we promised, we have a wonderful guest. This is Genevieve. How are you today?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm great. I'm great and excited, very excited because this is somebody I've been waiting to interview for a long time, but she finally here. Let's go with Divine Purpose Podcast.
Welcome to the Divine Purpose Podcast, where we transport you along one of the more dynamic journeys of life. Have you ever been curious to know what it takes to become a successful leader? Or about knowing the secrets of life through the Bible? How about engaging in conversation where no topics are off limits? We will take you to new levels with guests who can help you grasp the importance of your calling. Now, here's your host, Eddy Dacius, founder of Dacius Facilities Management.
All right, so like we always start this podcast with a like simple question. What can you tell us about you today?
Sure. First of all, thank you for having me. I know it's been a while with you trying to get me on the show, but life. But anyway, my name is Genevieve Bien-Aime. I am a first generation Haitian-American, born in Boston, raised in Cambridge. I've had some truly unique experiences in different Black spaces, and it's my calling to create community, and I choose to do that in the Black community. I'm the founder, CEO. I call myself the chief curator of Vibes at the Other Vibe, which is my baby, my business, my brand. It started as a resource for other people in the
Wow.
Boston community and eventually ballooned into a business that I'm still working on. I'm 6 years in. It's been
Wow. Congrats.
thank you, very interesting journey. A lot of ups, a lot of downs, couple of different rebrands, a recent rebrand. But that's me in a nutshell. I'm a creative entrepreneur. I'm a connector, and I bring the vibes. I am a vibe.
Oh yeah, so and I agree with you because ups and down when you get a business, it's the norm, right? Things rebranding because you are passionate and you want to make sure you get to your goals. Can you share what are the three most challenging in your life, and how did they challenge you?
You mean the three most challenges I have with the business, or just
Yeah, you can combine life, business,
okay?
education, professional
Sure.
career.
I think for me, those challenges, I would start with the first one being honestly knowing what it is that I'm supposed to be doing, like what is my purpose. Really just trying to navigate that. I feel like I've spent a lot of my life trying out different things. I am someone
Yeah.
that will, I people think I do a lot, but really what it is I try something out, I pick it up, it doesn't work for me or it does, and maybe I put it down because I don't like it or I decide I don't really want to do that. But trying to figure out what it is I want to do. Two, I would say managing myself, just having to balance life, responsibilities,
Yeah.
family, and a business, especially when you're a business owner or entrepreneur. I think that's really difficult. I honestly would say my third challenge, probably the biggest one for me. I've always, since I was young, I couldn't tell you what I'd be doing or how I do it, but I always envisioned a certain type of life for myself.
Yeah.
And then as I've gotten older and, some of my giftings, like one thing, I have a very strong faith in God.
Mm.
And for me, I'm a dreamer. I have a lot of dreams. I literally dream things. Sometimes people are like, how did you know to do something? And really, it's not that I thought about it or I knew to do it. I just saw myself doing it in a dream.
Wow.
I'm like, it's like a clue, So like, okay, let me try this out. Let me see if this works. But I've been blessed to have seen some of the things that I know God has in store for me.
Yeah.
So I would say the biggest struggle is being like in my present and then trying to figure out how do I get to that.
To that, yeah.
Yeah, like just that interim. So
And I can relate to it because there's like this patience. You need to have that patience. It's like you in the road and up there saying, yeah, like 5 miles, that's
Yeah.
your next stop, and then you can't wait to get there. But how do you stay motivated? How do you stay focused? How do you keep going? Sometimes you mention ups and downs, but what's your routine to keep going?
That's a really great question. I don't know what my routine is. I just know that for me, there's just certain things. I'm just a believer. If there is something that you are called to do, you, as much as you might try to walk away from it, or you
Yeah.
might try to ignore it, or you try to do your own thing, one, I think deep down you never really have a sense of peace about it. And then two, at least for me, God will orchestrate things and situations and provide revelations that kind of shift me back into that, and so I don't know if it's something you can learn, but
Yeah.
I don't know, because I'm not one of those people that plans out 5-10 years out. I'm kind of
Okay.
more like wing it. But
Winning.
at the same time, I am very intuitive.
Yeah.
As I've grown, I trust it more. When I was younger, I didn't, you don't trust it because you're taught to, we live
Yeah.
in this world, you believe what you can see and what you can touch. But I've always had like a gut feeling, like I think this could work. And I'm more inclined to trust my gut than anything else, to be honest.
So let's take a peek in your path, your upbringing. So how was it growing up in your household? How was it? What was the dynamic?
um,
I know that, huh?
you know, it's interesting. I in my bio I mentioned I'm first generation, and I
Yeah.
think it's important for me to mention that because when you are first generation, I don't care what background you come from, when you are
Yeah.
first generation anything in this country, especially to parents who don't speak the language or didn't grow up here,
Yeah.
a very unique experience.
Mm.
And it's different from people who was born in another country and then moved here at a different age. It's different for
Yeah.
people who, they might, for instance, they might be Haitian, but their parents are Haitian-American, so their parents grew up here. When you are first generation, it's a very unique experience because you are always walking in between two cultures that you don't
Yes.
really fit in.
Let's go a little bit further in this because this is a big, and we I don't know if you saw Black Panther,
I haven't.
Wakanda Forever. So there's like a spoiler alert that there's like some scene about Haiti, all
Yeah.
that. Everybody's excited. But what you said is make a lot of sense because I have guessed they said, okay, at my house I'm Haitian, but anywhere else I have to be what? Black American, Haitian. They cannot put themselves
Right.
in a category. Or was it for you? If you kind to go deeper on that and explain to our audience.
It's the same thing. at home you're Haitian, but you're really not Haitian because you're American. You're
Yeah.
Americanized. You know how they say in Creole they'll be like, "U connais muna American style," you know. Yeah, they're this, they're that. They're not really Haitian, and then but
Yeah.
you still have to like subscribe to the culture. And then when you at school or you in other areas, in other facets of your life, you're Haitian. You're not
Yeah.
American enough. Your name is different. Your food is different. I can't do some of the things that other kids' parents allow them to do.
Yeah.
And I mentioned earlier I've had some very unique Black experiences, and as I get older, I realize because I'm first generation Haitian American. I was born in Boston, but I grew up in Cambridge, and Cambridge in itself is a very unique
Unique. Yes. A lot of
period.
history.
Like
Yeah.
you won't get it if you didn't grow up in it. And then on top of that, I went to an HBCU for undergrad. So I was like fully immersed in like Black American culture. So
Yeah.
I realized, oh, you really not as Black American as you think you are, because some of the values and the mindsets are different. And so I've had all these different experiences. Like I've navigated all of these different places that I didn't necessarily fit in.
Yeah.
But back to your question about what it's like there's the pressures of you kind of grow up a little faster.
Wow.
I was the oldest in my household. I'm not the oldest, but I was the oldest in the household. So a lot of that looked like for me, my mom didn't really speak English. You know how it is. They understand more than they can speak, but I'm a translator.
Yes.
So I'm 7, I'm 8, and I'm translating. I'm talking to teachers. We going to different places, and you're talking to adults. I have Blount's disease as a kid, so one of my legs is longer than the other. So I spent a good chunk of fifth grade through really through high school having to see an orthopedic doctor. I had 2 major surgeries after 6th grade and then one after 7th grade. My mom, this is before they had translators available. So I'm there talking to doctors and I'm talking to nurses, and I'm as a kid and I'm the one communicating. Explain. So you learn, you grow up a little faster, you kind of have to, you learn to anticipate, because I gotta know. My mom's gonna look at me like, what's going on? I have to know before she asks me.
And they get upset if something even you like they shoot the messenger,
right?
So even if you're just saying what they said, but they think it's you. And I feel like what you said make a lot of sense, and we're gonna move with another question, but I think this is so important for our audience. We have Asian, we have like a lot of people listening where they can relate to what you said, and I will say maybe 70% of my guests, they said it was a typical Haitian household. They call like this lakai, but you bring something else where you're saying you had to grow a little bit faster because you had to translate. You have to know other things you probably not shouldn't, but didn't know at the time. Looking at this, or do you looking back at it? So, did you think those were like good experience, or they were just natural experience?
I mean, I just think it is what it is.
Yeah.
I think there's pros and cons.
Yes.
But I will say, I think the pros of it are that, I think that's where my drive comes from. I think, in terms of like, your parents, as I've gotten older and I'm doing my own internal work and I'm, healing myself from certain things, I've been able to look at my parents and look at my environment a lot differently and realize, they were in survival mode, so certain things, that wasn't right, or, you wish it was different. But I also understand that my parents, they did the best with what they had. And if if I do say so myself, I think they did an amazing job,
Yes, I agree.
you know, in one generation, my parents, you know, and they're from Haiti, but they're not from like the capital. They're from rural Haiti, you know.
Okay.
So you already, you know, munde up.
Yeah.
So they're not even, you know what I mean? And I think even in just one generation, what, you know, the leaps and bounds we've managed to accomplish, and not just educationally, but I just think as people, well-rounded people,
Yes.
I think they did a really great job. But I do think, you know, a lot of those things, when people, you're kind of ahead. Sometimes your struggles, you know, you look and you're like, no one struggles like me, or I have to do certain things that other people don't have to do. But it does kind of set you apart. It gives you a skill set that other people don't have. You learn things sooner that people might, you know, they're later in age, and you know, that's something you know. So it's like, so, you know, in different ways, like when people are like, you know, it's easy for me to talk to people. I don't have like a fear of people. I don't have,
wow.
Like I was 8 years old having to talk to the doctor and telling the doctor, you know, and I wasn't like afraid, you know, because I was that kid. I was smart, you know, so you couldn't just poke me with something. What is that? Why are we doing it? Like, you know, I need to understand for myself. And you know, and I think also too, you know, I say to my siblings, like, you know, we were really blessed, I should say, to you know, grow up in the States, because I look and see, you know, because I had two cultures to compare and contrast. It's like, you know, certain things I don't like about this culture, because based off my experience in this other culture, you know, we could do it differently. It doesn't have to be like that. But then
you can be a better version.
Right.
Right.
And so because I had two things to compare and contrast, I could think about things. So my mom would say certain things and I'd be like, that don't make no sense. You know, so I wouldn't be like disrespectful, but in my head,
were you a Tifrican?
I was never that person, but I was very
direct. That's the American culture too.
It is, like, the American culture.
Kids, they say things the way they see it.
Yeah.
But in Haiti, you have to be polite, you know.
Right.
But, and I think that's the perfect example.
Yeah.
What do you have a favorite childhood memory you share with us today?
Favorite childhood memory. Yeah. So my dad growing up was a cab driver.
Yeah.
So I just remember him like pulling up and picking us up or dropping us off at school in his cab, like his Boston cab. Yeah. And it's like, looking back, I'm like, it's super Haitian. You know what I mean? But, but that was like our dad, you know, and he, you know, my dad also is very intelligent. You know, he speaks, I think 4 languages, and he's like self-taught, you know, and so it makes you, you know,
appreciate.
My mom has this saying that my mom, you know, Haitians always have these sayings. Like, there's one, it's like, get one ki get cool, you va get shen, and then get one ki get shen, you va get
cool. Yeah.
And you know, I look at my parents and I'm just like, all they didn't have was opportunity.
Yes.
So for me, I think that's always been a driving factor. Like, you know, you don't waste opportunities. You got to take advantage. So, and my parents, you know, Haitians are very resourceful. Like, we are. Yeah. I feel like we're the most resourceful people. So there's things that, you know, I'll go through certain situations and I'll be talking to my friends and they'll be like, I would have never thought to do that. But in my head, it's like, it just clicks. Like, okay, we got to assess where we are. And then we just got to figure out what we got to do next to get going, you know, but yeah.
So, which of your accomplishment you are the proudest?
To be honest, I feel like I haven't even really done anything yet, you know, but I'm learning to you know, appreciate where I'm at and the things I've done. I am very proud of my business, you know, the Other Vibe, and I'm proud of it because you know, like I said, I didn't start it as a business. I didn't go into it thinking, oh, I'm gonna do ABC. It was like people would say, you know, there's nothing to do in Boston. I have a hard time connecting, and for me, it was like, I'm like, you know, it's not like other cities because, you know, I went to school in DC, so I've had that experience. But I'm like, there are things to do. People just don't know where to find it, and I think that's where the resourcefulness comes in, you know. And I'll go somewhere by myself. I'll try something out by myself. Like, I've never waited on other people to do
People.
something.
Yeah.
So I started off that way, and I had a really great reception, and it just continued to grow and grow and grow. And I mentioned a lot of ups and downs, and part of those lows were, when I won't say I wasn't intentional, I just didn't realize what I was doing. Like I was just doing something, innately, like it was just intuitive for me to do this, to create this thing. So I was just being creative. But a lot of times you have people that will, you're looking at other people and you're seeing other people create or birth something.
Yeah.
And, you want resources, you want advice, you want information, but I would get a lot of rejection. So, or people would, I would apply for programs, but because technically, my thing didn't have a service aspect to it, or it didn't make sense to the people, I got no's. I remember I had, she was somewhat of a mentor, like short term, but she was someone that had been in a lot of these different, like really well-known, like entrepreneurial programs.
Yeah.
And I remember she pretty much told me, like, it's not really gonna make you any money. You're probably wasting your time. Da, 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 da. And I was really struggling. I mean, I was really wrestling with just walking away, but I couldn't. But I would this thing I do, I go to sleep. That's what I'm thinking about when I wake up. It's the first thing I
Yeah.
think about.
It's hard to give up.
Yeah, and but I went a couple of months, and I just I put it down, and I have put this thing down and picked it back up a couple of times, against better judgment, against advice, and but I'm really just proud of myself. Back to that point when I wanted to put it down the first time, when I did, I have a specific memory of waking up in the middle of the night, and sometimes it's like God's really talking to me like a parent. And I remember I heard him say, why would you walk away from something you built? And I was like, that's true. And I still kind of didn't do anything with it. It was like something else had to happen months later that kind of made me like get it together.
Yeah.
And it was amazing because that was 2019, and then 2020 is when I started selling merch, and that was the first time that I started being able to generate income.
Wow.
But I think about, wow, if I would have given up at that point, I would have never gotten to this point, and then like even me moving, when I decided last year, July, I felt like a lot of things in my life was just not in alignment. And I had like a specific situation that happened that made me be like, okay, let me go talk to God. Let me go fast, because I don't know what's going on. And then, I felt like he was telling me on the fast, like the reason why, you going through all these different things, because this is not where you're supposed to be. And I felt like he was telling me to, not telling me, like I'm supposed to be in Houston, and I've never been here before. So that's the weird thing. Like,
wow.
I've never visited. I don't know anybody here. I don't have family here. And that was July. And so, but I have a lot of faith. So when he said that, I was like, okay, cool. Like, I'm going to Houston. And I started making my plans, and I picked the day after my birthday. So I moved here November 8th of last year. Like, I was able to get an apartment, sight unseen. But as I started moving in faith, everything started to line up.
Yeah.
And then a lot of people, and they meant well. It was just like, what about the other Boston? What about this? Da-da-da. And I'm like, I don't know. But I know that this is what I'm supposed to do. I can't tell you what's supposed to happen over here, but I guess I'll figure it out. And that's always been my mentality. Like, I'll figure it out. But to be on the cover of the Globe about my move to Houston, I think that's so wild. Like,
yeah,
for me to leave, and just the timing of everything, like the rebranding, because I didn't know it was coming out. Like, the writer didn't really know either. So
let's talk about the other vibe. Let's talk about it in terms of this is your website, right? So because I think that's why I like to say to my audience, and I didn't know that's where you're gonna take us, So you the driver, right? You take me. So let's talk about the other vibe. People in Boston, what they kind of get a glimpse of what started it. but what is it about?
So eventually it started, I heard a lot of people just talking about, Boston's whack, there's nothing to do, blah, blah, blah. And it was pretty much black people because, the city is very hard to navigate in
Yeah.
many different ways. But I always felt like, there are things happening. It's just that because of the way Boston, the infrastructure here, it can be really hard to tap into a different like community if you don't
Mm.
know what's happening. Like people just, it's word of mouth, or you just have to know people. And if you don't know anybody, especially if you're not someone from here, or if you just have a certain circle that you run in, it can be really difficult. So I was like, I'm just gonna sit on Eventbrite and Facebook, and I'm just gonna find events, and I'm just gonna put a list together, and just like a Monday through Sunday every week, and just do that and see what happens. And I did the first one, and that was in 2016. And it kind of took off that, and when you do something, you don't know what's going to happen with it. And then you get reception, you get good reception. I got good reception. I got feedback, and I was like, okay, you keep doing it, and then you improve it, and then you add, you take away. But eventually, yeah, it's a weekly events list, that I was just putting together. I created the website. I've had a couple of different websites, but you would just go on the website. Yeah, if you click on one, it would just have events that are happening, and then I'd hyperlink it. I tell you how much it costs, like the things that are important to me. I want to know, when is it, how much it costs, what time is it starting, trying to make it easy for people.
Mm.
And it just continued to grow. And then eventually it was like, you're on social media. Then it's like, if I get it, it's important. If you have a business, you need to have some type of email marketing. Like a lot of people rely on social media, but like social media
Yeah.
goes down all the time, So if everything lives on social media and you have no way to contact people, it's kind of a
Yeah.
lose. So I was building this email funnel. I was sending out emails. I was trying to be consistent. Sometimes, you struggle with that. But I was just curating this audience of people, So when people, circle back and they ask me about the merch and, how did I manage to sell t-shirts? It's like, what I didn't realize I was doing was I already had a built-in audience to sell merch to, because I already
Mm.
was, I was already providing content and information that was driving people to the site or causing them to sign up. So essentially, yeah, it's a resource. It's a place. Like if you're looking to just tap into the Black community, the events, I'm a very inclusive, everybody's welcome, but I am very clear that my focus is Black people and just building communities, especially in places like Boston where it can be really difficult to navigate. And so I list events that are happening by Black organizers that are geared to a Black audience, are happening in Black communities, and so that's what I do. And with me moving to Houston, I knew I wanted to pick it back up, and I wanted to, I'm here now, so it kind of
Yeah.
makes sense to do Houston as well. So I was like, okay, you need to change the name, because I can't keep doing the other Boston, the other this, the other that. So we need an all-inclusive name.
Yeah.
If I have to change it later, I will. I'm not afraid to do that. I rebranded
Wow.
at least 3 or 4 times at this point. But I was like, I need something all-inclusive, one page that I can manage, because right now it's like me and Impossible. So yeah, that's pretty much it, and
No, no, thank you for sharing, because like I said, we need this type of community, this type of resources, because like you said, even if back in the day, if that was the case, if you had that, probably your experience would be better. And I think the idea is to get everybody same page and have a good experience. So let's talk about your college process. The reason I like to ask this question is to say, okay, what was your dream job in high school? So we dream about a lot of things, but at the end of the day, reality checked in, and we're doing something else. So, what was your dream job in high school?
um I think I wanted to be a therapist in
Yeah.
high school. And that's because I know I'm really good with people. I would have experiences where people just, I don't know, they feel comfortable enough to share. So I went to college with, to get a psych degree, which is what I did. But I struggled in college. Like it wasn't, I'm smart, that's
Yeah.
not a question. but I struggled with just support. I struggled with structure. It's really hard to navigate. We talk about being first generation when
Yeah.
there's a benefit when you have parents that have experienced certain things before you because they can help you navigate.
Navigate.
But,
Yeah.
but when you don't have that type of support, a lot of my experiences have been me counseling myself, or I try to.
Mm.
That's another thing when I talk about being resourceful. It's like I have to figure out how to get the information, and I don't get it the way other people get it. I have to, I gotta take this, take that, and kind of figure out, what am I gonna take, what am I gonna use, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But for me, I definitely struggled with school. So it took me a number of years to finish college, and it took me 3 schools to finish college, and it was
Yeah.
something that I felt a lot of shame about back then. And but now I'm like able to talk about it because I realize it is helpful to other people. But yeah, I thought I wanted to be a therapist. First job after I really graduated, I worked at it was like a homeless agency for young people, and eventually it took some time. But I worked up to case manager, which was it wasn't I wasn't doing therapy, but you still have to counsel people, and I learned very quickly, like this is not this is not it. I want to help
Okay.
people, but not in that capacity.
So, was it difficult for you? And you mentioned that navigating to college, where sometimes if your parents are help, like, they can help in terms of telling you, oh, what to do, or sometimes your parents say, oh, we want you to go to college, but they
Right.
don't give you that pressure, or they don't give you that roadmap saying, okay, this is where you need to be, this is what you need to do.
Right.
So can you tap into your process or applying for college, all that?
Mm-hmm. So it was always understood in my household that you're going to college.
Yeah.
So that was right there. I remember a friend in high school was like, I decided to go to college, and I just thought, like, you decided, like, okay. But yeah, it was very clear, like, you go
Everybody's
to
going to
college.
college.
Yeah. Now, Haitian people, they're very much the basics. Like, you go to in Boston, it's like go to
You
UMass,
might.
go there. And I'm like, I mentioned I had different experiences. One of my experiences, I grew up in Cambridge. They have a
Yeah.
summer youth employment program, the mayor's program. And I think the second summer I participated, there was like a nonprofit organization that was actually created by another Cambridge native. It was called the
Yeah.
National Black College Association. And essentially it was like they got funding, bring all these Black kids together. We were Cambridge kids going up to Roxbury every day in the summer, and we were just learning about Black history. All of our mentors were HBCU; they were current HBCU students. So, I was definitely, I was, I was exposed to that at that age, and so it made
Yeah.
me like, I'm gonna go to HBCU too. And then the other experience too that really cemented it for me was, you know, people have their thoughts about Cambridge, but I had a very Black experience in Cambridge. I grew up in public
Yeah.
housing, and it was all Black and brown people. We were from
Yeah.
different places. It was very diverse, but we were all Black and brown. And I went to elementary school, it was predominantly African American. I went to CRLS, which is like the one public high school in Cambridge, and it was
Cambridge. Yeah.
huge. Yeah. And this is at the time they had 5 small, they broke the school into 5 smaller schools. And so you got to pick which school you wanted to be in. Of course, I chose the one that was the Blackest because it was the lit,
Yeah.
it was full of people. And I was smart, but I wanted to have fun. I'm not going to
Yeah.
trouble, but I want to know what's going on. And so, I was kind of really just kind of coasting by, just doing enough. And I remember my history teacher, by the time I got to junior year, she was like, you need to be an AP and history and English. And I'm like, AP what? Like, I don't,
Yeah.
and so I lost that battle because I wasn't trying to do it. But then they were like, well, we need to get permission from your parents to not let you, if you don't want to be in these classes. And can you imagine what Haitian parent is? They're telling you your kid needs to be in the advanced program,
Yeah.
and they're gonna be okay with you not being in it. Like, I already knew, like, I can't even That's nonsense.
That's-
That's not a winning battle. So I
yeah,
was like, all right. So I did that, but it was my first experience being like a minority,
yeah.
so that didn't sit well with me at all. So I was like, oh, I'm for sure going to a
It's
HBCU.
PC. Yeah,
Yeah. And so and my mom, my uncle, all these people, they were just like, go to UMass. And that's the American part. Like, I'm gonna think for myself. I'm not gonna do what y'all think I should do. That was me, at least. I can't say
I
that,
know.
but me, I've always been very like, if I want to do something, that's what I'm gonna do. Like, I'm not disrespectful about it.
No, that's the culture too,
Yeah,
and that's the way it is.
I'll let you think what you're gonna think, but I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do at the end of the day. So I applied to only 5 schools. Howard was one of them. I got
Yeah.
in, and I actually had never visited. So it's kind of
Mm-mm.
like, I just realized last week, I was like, wait, this is the second time I did that in life. Like, I didn't visit DC, I didn't visit Howard. Honestly, had I visited, I probably would have went. But I
Really?
plucked
Why?
myself in DC at an HBCU, and I was there, And so, one thing about me, once I've committed, I am
Yeah.
committed. We're gonna ride it out. And so, but I definitely struggled. Just, I don't think I had the discipline. I didn't have the support. I didn't, there was no one to really be like, this is what to expect, this is what to do, this is how you navigate. So it was definitely a huge learning curve.
Adjustment. Yeah.
Yeah. Eventually I came back. I had to take classes at Bunker Hill. And then eventually, re-enrolled at UMass Boston, and I finished there. The difference then between, going to Howard and then having to finish at a PWI is that, at Howard, you get, people like to say about HBCUs or whatever that, they'll say, oh, it's not diverse or it's not the real world. And I feel like those are very anti-Black statements to me.
Yeah.
I think especially if you are a Black person who's grown up in, an environment like the United States, like, there's a benefit, there's a buffer when you grow up in a Black country, or, because whether you're poor or you're rich, it's like that layer of racism isn't as apparent.
And yeah.
And I see it with my parents, like, they come here, they don't, these Moon Blonde, like, they're not really thinking about that. Eventually there's situations
They
that
do
bring
their
it to
thing.
light,
Yeah.
but they don't have that consciousness sometimes, and that's why they're able to navigate better, I think. But yeah, being in an HBCU environment, it's like, there was Black people from all different countries, different parts of this country, different parts of the world,
Well, yeah.
different socioeconomic backgrounds. That was a big thing for me because, I grew up in the project, so, I'm a project baby, so I'm used to, but then being around people who, like, their parents own McDonald's and they own Brownstones and they have this and they have that. I remember one of my work studies, I'll never forget this because it's actually quite funny, but the girl was Nigerian.
Yeah.
And she had come from Nigeria to DC for school, but it was the first time for her, like, having to work for a living, having to struggle. And I remember we were working together, and one day she just started crying, and she was like,
wow,
just talking about how ghetto it was, and she's like, I've never had a struggle like this. So it's like you're like, oh wow, there's people who
different,
completely different life than me. So, you get past the whole Black thing because being Black might be the only thing we have in common.
It's common, yeah.
And that's it. So when I came back, you kind of you're like meshed into this thing, and you get affirmed, and you learn so much. And so when I'm going back to the real world, a UMass, where I'll go into a classroom and maybe it's 100 students and there's like 6 of us are Black, I don't really care, because I'm like, I just need to get what I need to get, and then
you go. Yeah. So looking at these experiences, how did they shape you, like who you are now? Like, how did they help you, like you said, allow you to navigate, or maybe feel comfortable, or go get what you need to be like, not being afraid to what people think, or just go mind your business?
I think it's made me, honestly, I realize I've had to navigate so many different worlds that I think it's made me more comfortable, talking to people. I don't have like that The only time I'm like that is because I just don't feel like talking. But
Yeah.
other than that, I don't have a problem talking to anybody. You know,
Okay.
I don't have a problem being able to connect with people. And I think I'm pretty relatable. And I think that comes from having been exposed to so many different things. And I
Yeah.
think it started at home. It started being, you know, people ask like, what's your first language? I'm like, I don't know. It could have been English. It could have been
Okay.
Creole.
Okay.
I don't know, you know, but like literally having to navigate these different worlds. Like you navigate being Haitian, you navigate being, I guess, Black American, you navigate, you know, you're poor, but you hang, you know, you're in Cambridge, so you see rich people, like, you know,
Yeah.
you're exposed to different things. And I was exposed to different cultures as well. So I think it makes you more worldly and that you're more aware, you know. And so I think it serves me because I really, you know, I care about Black struggle. I care about all people's struggles, but I
Yeah.
realize I can make an impact in my own community. And I think, you know, experiencing Cambridge and really greater Boston and then being in DC, because it wasn't just Howard and being at an HBCU, it was being in a city that
City.
was predominantly African
Yeah.
American at that time, you know, and then having to come back. So like, you know, the social scene in DC, like, you know, you go to sleep and then you wake up with flyers underneath your door for different parties. And I remember I would save the flyers and like
Yeah.
as like decorations. So I'd keep adding them on the back of the door. Like by the end of the semester, it was like this whole wall
Wow.
of flyers, you know. So it
Wow.
was so much more to do. And then coming to Boston, it was like a very, you know, different experience.
Settle. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, because in DC, I was like, you could have, and I think that speaks to the different types of Black experiences, right? Because I think sometimes the word Black is just kind of used, it's just a blanket, but it's
Yeah.
like, what type of Black are we talking about? Because I had those experiences in college too. Like I remember I had a associate, then this was when MySpace was still
Yeah.
really popular, and you know, people used to send around these like different you know, these little things to sign, like petitions. And there was
Petition. Yeah.
one that was like, to me, was a very anti-immigrant petition, you know, but her being like Black American, you know, to them, when they think immigrant, they think Latino, you know, they have a certain
So
look.
yeah.
And I'm like reading this, like, do you know who I am? Like, I'm like, you know, like they're not taking your jobs. I'm like, y'all are not scrubbing toilets and
Yeah.
wiping old people's behinds and driving cabs. Like, you know what I mean? So it was
Yeah.
like just that awareness, you know, so of different, what it means to be Black is
Black.
not a monolith, you know. And I feel like that's something too, like I haven't really tapped into, but I would like to do some work around that, like really creating community where we can have dialogue, because I think there are some conversations that
definitely
need to be had, you know, because I hear it on both sides, you know, because people get comfortable with me and I'd be like, hold up, you know, like so I don't play it on either side, but I think all of those different spaces I've had to navigate, where, to be honest, I didn't really quite fit in. I've never been in a space where I felt 100% like, oh, I fit in here. Because when I'm around, you know, Haitian people, like I love my family and stuff like that, I'm like, damn, girl, you real American, you know, like this. And you know, growing up, my parents, they would give me a lot of whatever, but there were certain things like I used to take, you know, because they'll say like, you know, they like to say like American kids, they don't have manners, right?
Yes.
I didn't like the idea of having to kiss everybody. So I used to come in with the hi, you know, and I still do that sometimes.
I'm sorry if I'm laughing.
No, it's okay. But I would use it to my advantage, because I was like, oh, you flick you buy me Sadia Moon. And I used to be like, I don't like to do that. I don't want to touch people.
Wow.
I don't like this person, but you want me to hug them. So I'm going to use that to my advantage. So I'll come in and I'm going to hit you with the hi. It's not even a bonsoir. I'll be like, hi. That way that, you know, because then my mom be a little embarrassed and she'd be like, that's how they are. So they, you know, it kind of shut down the expectation.
Yeah.
Kiss on the cheek, you know. And
wow, Genevieve, that's a good one. That's a good. I know they see it, so they do it a lot. And I can see they're not comfortable, but at the end of the day, we were used to it. Let's go to break now. So let's get to break, and quickly we're gonna go to hot topic after that. So this is Eddy Dacius with Genevieve today, talking about the career. We're excited to have her. So let's go on break now.
What comes before making a smart decision? Choices. A smart choice is the best option, which is who we are. That's why our clients expect more from us and, in turn, get more in everything we do. We understand the problem. That's why we thrive for excellence. We don't just create a winning culture, we aspire to be a smart choice, a voice for solutions. We believe in integrity, professionalism, and teamwork. Our passion is to bring results for our clients by working harder, smarter, and faster. As a team, we always deliver because we recognize your needs. Choosing smart influences us to be the best version of ourselves. That makes us different than other companies. It makes us confident in achieving our goals. It makes us who we are. And it makes us DFM, the smart choice.
Yes, DFM, the smart choice. Call them now, 617-237-0106, or go online, www.daciusfm.com. Like we said, we still have our special guest, Genevieve, today. She's talking about a career. But we're going to get into Hot Topic. Hot Topic, this is a segment where we talk about important topics, questions related to career, a question our audience wouldn't have a chance to ask you. Let's go with Hot Topic now. So I have a good one for you. So hopefully you take your time in this with this question. And this is an important question. I've been trying to ask all my guests these questions. How important is it for you as a Black woman to succeed?
I mean, I think it's important regardless of who I am, but I think as a Black woman, I think it's important because I think when one of us, at least for me, because I have had experiences where I've seen the opposite, but it's not just about me. I feel like if I can get myself in a better situation when I succeed, you inspire other people. I think about legacy as well. So I think about, my own children, that when I have them, that, they won't have to struggle in certain ways that I struggled. I think about the people in proximity to you that you do affect, whether you just inspire them by your own story or, even being able to put them in a position, to be able to succeed as well. And then I think about, I think financially, I'm defining success in this particular, like just financially, like having money means like you have more options and you can do things. So one of the things I really want to do is I want to be able to fund other people's projects. I want to be able to create programs that, I believe in planting seeds around you and being able to be that person. Because I think about, despite my own struggles, and when I tell you it was hard, if it wasn't, certain people, certain situations, even that program, for example, that was someone's idea. The National Black College Fund had this person, never moved forward with it, got funding, created programming, the whole trajectory of my life could have been really different. You know what I mean? And so I think that's why it's important, because you literally can change not just your life, but you can really affect change in so many other people's lives. It's like a ripple effect,
Yeah, and thank you for sharing this. And your answer is accurate. And what I think is, what do it take to really have a big community, like focus on the mission for the community, like the other vibe? What will it take you to really get to where you need to be?
What will it take?
Yeah, like for
I
you.
need money.
Yeah.
I need money. I need resources. What has been different about being in a new environment. So being from Boston, I'm from Boston. So I'm like, if I want to sell t-shirts and I can make money, selling t-shirts, I don't think anything's wrong with that. But even me coming into Houston, I'm like, I'm not from here. I may be black and I'm talking about the black community, but I'm also very aware of being a transplant. I'm very aware that I'm an outsider. I'm
Yeah.
very aware that, even, there's, reverse migration. I think the pandemic, over 1 million people have moved from the north to the south. People like me,
Yeah.
we've changed a lot of things for people who live here. Like, to me, the rent here is great to me, but to them, this is like, no, we've seen it jump a couple $100 because you people from the north or from California are willing to come down here and pay these prices, which, changes
Change. Yeah.
things for people. So I'm aware of that. And so I definitely, it's caused me to think about, well, what does my presence mean in the community? And
Mm.
before you'll see I have merch, but I have Boston merch. I could have easily already created merch and start selling a Houston theme, the same thing. And eventually that is the plan. But in my mind, I'm like, I need to figure out, what am I going to contribute to the community to make it better before I sit here and I start, benefiting off of the community. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
As opposed to just putting money in my pocket. But yeah, those are just some thoughts.
So and I'm glad and I'm it's okay to say that's what you need, because usually helping a community where our community needs a lot of help, we need money, we need everything possible in terms of resources.
Mhm.
So do you think, let's say we go to the future, right? Maybe 5 years down in the future,
Mhm.
and everything worked out. What would you think will be the reason the other vibe will be impacting the target community you have in mind?
What would be the reason? I mean, I think honestly, consistency is
Yeah.
probably the most important thing. My journey, I've definitely struggled with that. But as there's things I used to be so insecure about when I first started, or, you see someone else doing something and you're like, oh, I don't have that, or I'm not able to do that. And then to be here 6 years later and some of these things don't even exist, it's taught me, time really tells all. Like time is
Yeah.
the real thing. And it's like, and really, it doesn't matter how talented you are. Talent helps, obviously, but if you're not disciplined, if you're not consistent, someone who's not as talented but is consistent can go a lot further than someone who's very talented but not consistent. And so, to me, that's what I tell myself, is just more important to be consistent than to be perfect. In terms of why it would succeed, or in 5 years, what the reason would be, I think it's me. I think I'm meant to. Like, I really feel like it's destined. Like, there's just certain situations in my life that happen that I'm like, this is not real life. Like, this is my life. Like, and I
Mm.
know it's God orchestrating things. I don't always appreciate it. I'm not always
Yeah.
happy about it. I don't always care for his timing of things or
Mm.
how he does things, but I know that there's things that happen for me. A lot of things, they're happening to us, but they're really happening for us.
For us, yeah.
And that's kind of the mindset. And I think, as much as I've tried to walk away, or I even put it down, like I put this thing down when I moved here, I stopped everything. I haven't done anything. And granted,
Wow.
I'm trying to get it together and there's some struggles there, but it's like, it's crazy that, I stepped back just trying to see, maybe someone else will step up and feel the need or do
Mm.
whatever. And, I'm looking around like, well, nobody's done it. So I guess it's my lane,
Yeah.
And I also realized too, is just like I said, I feel like I'm the common denominator in all of this. Like, something I've struggled with is always feeling like I was the underdog. Like, I'm always last. I'm always struggling the most. I always have the most need. But yet I built this thing. And sometimes too, someone had to point out to me, the brand itself, you go on social media and it looks really good. People think it's a whole team here, and it's not. It's just me by
Yeah.
myself right now, and I'm grateful for that because, and I think this goes back to my background, back to being that first generation Haitian-American, that little girl in the projects. It's like having to figure out how to doing more with less. And that's something that I think sets me apart, is because despite not having what other people have, or having to, go about it a different way to get the same results, I can still produce much more, and I think for me, it's about faith. It's about being consistent. It's about, also being in your lane. Because a lot of times I think people do things. That's not even what you're meant to be doing. You're just trying to do, you see someone else doing it. If that's not for you, that's not for you.
Yeah.
Also, I think being authentic is important too. So.
Well said. So we get into the end of this episode, and I'm very excited. I was excited when we finally agreed to meet, and this is the day we did it, and I learned a lot, because at the end of the day, what always got to my mind is the drive. What people are passionate about. All right. So last word for you.
Last words. It's gonna sound so cliche, but it's like, don't give up. And I mentioned earlier, like, the advice and some of the feedback and the rejection, and I know I haven't even touched what I'm supposed to touch, but I'm so grateful that I didn't give up back then, because I wouldn't have seen any of this. And it's not even just, oh, I have this, I have that, or the money. It's honestly the development of myself and just what it's done for me as an individual. So I really encourage, like, if you have something, like for me, that you go to sleep thinking about, you wake up thinking about, and it's like, no matter what you try to do, you try to ignore it or walk away and you can't, it's like you owe it to yourself to see it through and to give it your all. So
thank you. Is there a question you wish I asked you today?
How can people support me? And the way they can support me is you can follow The Other Vibe, subscribe to our events list. You can do that on the website, right on the homepage. Follow on social media. It's The Other Vibe on Instagram. I think it's The Other Vibe 01 on Twitter, but we're most active on Instagram right now. And then also just sharing the information. Tell your friends to tell your friends, and purchase some merch right on the website, theothervibe.com, right there at where it says shop merch on the top right. And now we offer drop shipping, because I was doing it the hard way. Like, I was here going to a vendor, picking up the merch and mailing it myself, and now it's like I made it simpler for myself. So definitely support.
All right, so thank you, Genevieve. Appreciate the time. Like I said, I had a blast, and this is Eddy Dacius with Divine Purpose Podcast. We had Genevieve today talking about her passion, and check out The Other Vibe. All right, so thank you.
Thank you.